right, welcome to the Call to Freedom. It is Tuesday, April the 9th, 2019. I'm your host, as always, Ari Mezzo of the anarchistshemale.com, and I'm joined in the studio today by
Chris,
and Michael Hampton from BitcoinHistory.com.
Very cool. And I actually launched a new show last night. It was very entertaining. Yes. Arya Uncensored. You didn't hear?
No, I didn't.
Oh, God. I sat right there and did the whole thing topless on Twitch.
Oh, I think I heard about, you know what? I did hear about this, but I didn't know what the name of the show was called. And I didn't realize it was going to be like a new show.
Yeah.
So
I wasn't sure. It went pretty well considering.
Are you banned?
No, we are not banned. Ian actually decided yesterday, because we kept flipping back and forth on how we wanted to handle it.
Yeah.
He made the decision that he was going to have it on the LRN Twitch. Okay. Which means that if it got banned, it would be the LRN channel, which would be considerably worse than it was just my channel, right?
Yeah, right.
But nothing happened. Somebody reported the video, but Twitch did nothing about it. So presumably they took a look at it and were like, nope, not touching this one.
Yeah, not going there.
That's what I would guess it happened anyway. My phone died like halfway through Free Talk Live and refused to charge. It acted like it was shorting out, like it would charge for a brief second, then it would stop. And all of my actual show prep for Arya Uncensored was on my phone. So I ended up going into it with absolutely no prep and really nervous because, I mean, I'm a pretty audacious person, but sitting there topless on camera, it certainly screws with your head. So I had a glass of courage wine.
You need it.
And things just sort of went downhill from there. Rev ended up calling, and we decided that he's gay.
I didn't know he was capable of that much profanity.
Well,
like every other word.
He watches his mouth really well on Call to Freedom when he calls in. Right. He does. But yeah, he certainly cussed a lot last night, which is fine. You know, that's the purpose of Arya Uncensored. It may also be joining the LRN family of shows. Okay. Being hosted on LRN.FM and on the pirate radio network that we have going on.
Yep.
But there's also something to be said about keeping it Twitch only. So we're not sure exactly how we're going to proceed with that, but it was fun. It was very fun to do, and I look forward to doing it again. It was an experience, to say the least.
I still want to go back and watch it now. Are there recordings being made of it, or is it?
It is live on Twitch and permanently archived on my YouTube channel. Because Twitch only keeps them for like 30 days or 60 days.
I think it's like 2 weeks.
Well, the time frame is really long, but it also deletes older videos after you've reached a certain number of videos.
Oh, right. And the LRN channel is putting out at least one video every day.
Two.
At least two every day.
Two on most days. Yeah, you're correct. It's not every day that we do two, but two on most days and occasionally 3 a day. So we hit that. I think it's 60 videos or maybe 30. We hit that really fast.
Yeah, I think Ian said it was around 2 weeks that things started dropping off.
Yeah. So, but YouTube keeps them forever, and which is why I have the profile set up. Call to Freedom streams to my YouTube channel as well, so they will always be there. It's like 54 episodes now, stacking up.
Yeah.
All of them added each day to the playlist, Call to Freedom. So if people want to check that out, there's a playlist right there that will start from the oldest and play them all the way through to the newest.
Oh, my.
If you have 162 hours to kill one week.
If you've got 162 hours to kill, give us a call.
Yeah, well, if they have that much time on their hands, chances are they've probably already given us a call. But interesting other things going on today. Bernie Sanders has revealed himself to be a nationalist, which is not a surprise to any of us.
Statist.
But what's interesting about it, well, he's a full-blown nationalist, in fact. Because he's basically saying America first.
Okay.
Well, a statist is independent of the country. You have statists in the United States and statists in... That's a good question. There may not be a difference. Because a statist is going to be nationalist for their own state. Right. So,
a statist could just support states in general without necessarily supporting any specific, like,
But because
our state is better than your state.
But because they're going to be under the boot of a state, supporting that would become nationalism.
Yeah,
at any rate, being an avowed and open socialist, I would hope that it would cause people concern that he is also a nationalist.
No, it's not.
No, and
it won't be.
And he's certainly not a Nazi as we understand them, but he is a nationalist and he is a socialist.
You know, it's interesting that he wants closed borders. And wait, did we even bring up what he was talking about?
Not yet.
Sorry,
but that's as good a segue as any.
Yeah, I mean. So can we go on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, it's interesting that he wants closed borders because I thought it was the agenda of the socialists actually to open the border to, illegal immigration, so to speak, because they want to undermine the system. But it seems like it would
news
it would
from GameStop.
Socialism.
So GameStop almost had a sale go through, and then it got kind of...
This browser window stays open around the clock, right?
Right.
So when I open a new tab in it, it sort of refreshes the most recently viewed tab, and that happened to be a YouTube video, which then started playing. Luckily, it was clean. So
I just heard something about GameStop, and I didn't know why we were segueing.
Yeah, I didn't either.
GameStop is clean.
But back to the point, yeah. He says open borders, that's a Koch brothers proposal. That's what he thinks. That's a right-wing proposal.
Interesting.
Oh, so now they're flipping positions now.
I'm a little confused. Aren't the right wings? I usually think Republican right wing. Don't they want to close the border? I mean, they're the ones who want the armed guards, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So I'm very confused as how I mean, usually when I think of somebody saying right wing, I think that's what I think is closed borders, not open borders. I mean, I would definitely agree it's a libertarian thing. To open
Absolutely,
borders, but I don't necessarily know that I would associate with just right wing.
No, the right hates the idea of open borders.
Right.
It's the exact opposite of what they want. They want a border wall that's 20 feet high and that's manned by armed guards. Yeah. That is as far from an open border as you can get.
Here's the problem. Socialism basically does not work with open borders, because ultimately if you have people migrating who are poorer and you then have socialism and you give them welfare checks, your economy collapses because there's more poorer people outside the United States than there are currently inside the United States.
Right.
So it's not really a workable thing.
Socialism needs money coming in,
right?
But it doesn't need people coming in,
right? Exactly. So I think it makes sense from a logical standpoint as a socialist not to support open borders, but I think it's also kind of hypocritical because you want to help poor people supposedly, which then you're not helping poor people. You're actually hurting poor people by preventing them from coming to where the jobs are, basically, and getting work.
This isn't the first time he's been accused of being pro-open borders, which is bizarre because that's certainly a libertarian position, not a democratic position, and certainly not a socialist position.
No, it's not.
It was in the previous accusations that he was like, no, I'm not for open borders. That's a Koch brothers proposal. That's a right-wing proposal. But on Sunday, he shot back at those who suggest that he supports open borders, saying high levels of global poverty would make an open borders policy complicated. So
it would require the end of socialist policies, and I'm totally in support of that.
So he doesn't want the poor people to come here, which is like the most unhumanitarian and selfish thing I've ever heard in my life. The reason these people are poor is because of a lack of resources. We have plenty of resources here, so let them come here and harvest.
It's not even necessarily the lack of resources. It's inefficiencies in the system that cause these problems, which result frequently from socialism and or wars.
Very true. But he was quick to clarify, I'm afraid you may be getting your information wrong, Sanders replied. According to the Washington Post, I think that what we need is comprehensive immigration reform.
What does he mean by that?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Oh my God, there's a lot of poverty in this world, and you're going to have people from all over the world, and I don't think that's something we can do at this point. Can't do it. So Sanders wants to keep out all the poor brown people because they might take away all of the wealth that he wants to steal from all the white people to redistribute to all of the poor white people.
So it turns out the socialists are just as bigoted as the Republicans.
This is the Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. You're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Once more, that's 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And that is how we would prefer you to give us a call. So we've been talking about crazy Uncle Bernie and his decision that open borders is a right-wing Koch brothers. It is Coke. Yeah. Like cocaine. Yep. I mean, it's not spelled like cocaine, Coke, but okay. But basically because there's a lot of poverty in the world, and he doesn't want the poor people coming to the United States to improve their lives, which, for those paying attention, is like exactly the same freaking thing that Donald Trump and Republicans say.
I don't even understand, like, why would you be for helping out the poor people in your country, but then not helping the poor people out in other people's countries? Like
nationalism.
I just don't understand this.
I don't understand it either. To me,
it's America first.
Well, not to me, certainly not.
Right.
But to Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump and seemingly both the Democrats and the Republicans, it is America first. I don't know why. I don't know why people who are poor and who were born here are more important to them or have higher value.
I think it probably comes down to getting votes, and getting basically free stuff is a thing that will get you more votes. You know, if you're saying that you're going to take from people who have money here and give it to others that don't have money here, then you can get their votes. But you don't get votes from basically giving it to everybody. So it's not really, you're not doing it for principled reasons. You're doing
maybe
it
not in the short term,
for selfish reasons.
But that influx of people who came here to get the free stuff, which is what they fear, would certainly ultimately vote for the party that gave them that free stuff.
Yeah, you might think.
I mean, that's one of the issues that people like
that's how
Rev
the Democrats have won elections. They promise free stuff and then deliver.
If you recognize,
I'm not going to go that far, but that's the issue that Rev and others take with the entire scheme.
That might be. I think though the reform is probably is thinking of it more from a perspective of, okay, we can't let in everybody because then it would actually start biting into my own pocket financially. My own well-being, my own interests. But if we have reform, which allows more people in, but not everybody, then all of a sudden he gets votes, but without necessarily hurting his own pocket.
Well, we've heard the Democrats campaign on various promises before. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez ran on the Abolish ICE platform. Or I don't know if that was really part of her platform or not, but she certainly said it. And she acted like it was something she really wanted to do.
Yeah, and has she actually done anything toward that end?
Well, I mean, she sort of made herself ineffective in Congress. So even if she had tried to, it wouldn't go anywhere. But no, immediately after seizing power, she backpedaled and started talking about the people in the back need to shut up and let her lead them the way they voted for her to do. So total power trip.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she went nuts on Twitter, man. She said essentially exactly that, that people need to stop speaking up from the back and need to shut up and let the politicians figure things out.
Yeah, she said, wow. I'm in charge here.
Yeah. It was really blatant and really bizarre to come from a first-term representative who is probably never going to be reelected.
You know, the crazy thing is there's actually a group of people out there who are like still like, they're like addicted to it, almost like being abused like this. They want somebody to roll over them like that.
Well, I mean, there's certainly a Stockholm syndrome aspect to it.
Yeah, we know people like that. We call them voters.
Yeah, or a true. Plato's Cave aspect to it, where we see the system for what it is, but they're so fearful of what the outside world might be like that they just prefer the comfort of being shackled in the cave.
Yep.
And that's tragic, but those people certainly exist, and in large numbers, and we do, in fact, call them voters.
Yeah.
But Sanders called for restructuring ICE in July as part of a broad immigration overhaul, saying we must not be about deporting dreamers, young people who have lived in this country virtually their entire lives, none of which involves overhauling ICE. I mean, we can just stop, deporting dreamers.
Yeah, stop deporting dreamers. Stop deporting everybody. I mean, Come on.
Well,
This does not require restructuring Homeland Security.
ceasing to deport everybody would technically be a restructuring of Homeland Security and ICE.
Okay.
But to simply stop deporting one particular demographic of that population, no overhaul or restructuring is necessary. Just stop doing it, right?
Right.
But of course, they don't really have any intention of doing so because they, like the Republicans, don't want all of those brown people coming here. The difference between the two is that the Democrats have masterfully convinced everyone that they are the party of the minority. They're the party of the Hispanics, of the black people, of the LGBT people, and they're not. They're the party that abuses and manipulates them into getting their votes. But that's pretty much the extent.
This reminds me.
That's what they've been doing since basically the civil rights era.
Yeah, it amazes me. The Democrats have actually made things worse for us in many cases where they've advocated for certain laws where, they're supposed to help. Like they say I need protection because of my sexuality, and so they passed the hate crime law, for example. And it's like this actually gives more ammunition to abusive government to go after individuals who are activists and in the minority. Because we know it gets abused, and it's actually gotten extended in some states by adding police as a protected class. So if you say something mean to a police officer, you get charged with a hate crime.
I knew they had attempted that, and I seem to recall us covering at one point on the Call to Freedom several months ago somebody who did have their crime escalated into being a hate crime because they shouted pig or they called the cop a Nazi. Mm-hmm. But I didn't think anything like that had ever actually stuck.
Yeah, I've heard of it being tried.
So I think there was a case that was dropped or something, but they were, I think, charged with a hate crime for saying like a word that I can't say right now on the radio to a cop, basically. And while in the commission of a crime, and I think it had something to do. I'm trying to think exactly what I think the hate crime law, you have to be in commission. You would have had to, I think they had to be in commission of a crime against a cop in order for the hate crime law to apply. So the fact that he cursed out the cop while committing another crime, it ultimately was not valid. But if he had done something to the cop, like assaulted the cop, then it would have been a hate crime. But I think it was something like that. It was something ridiculous is why it was dropped.
Well, it's all ridiculous because being a cop is a choice.
Right.
Yeah.
One chooses to do that.
Right. You don't choose to be a minority. I mean, you can choose to be a minority in some cases, but like generally the protections are applicable to people who are a minority not by choice, but because of who they are, whether it's your skin color, your sexuality, or some other factor.
Right. But with cops, they're a protected class because they choose to be aggressors for a living. And for some reason, this means they require extra protection, presumably from the people that they're busy aggressing against. Well, this is the Call to Freedom. We're going to get more into this Bernie Sanders-style nationalism, socialism/insanity. And we're going to talk about something else that I had pulled up in front of me, but I just closed out of it. Oh, yeah, the deadly Easter egg hunt.
Oh, yeah.
The worst thing to ever happen in the history of humanity. This is the Call to Freedom. Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom and the Rational Review News Digest, located at rationalreview.com. It's the Freedom Movement's daily news digest, aggregating stories from all over the internet that are of interest to libertarians and liberty-minded people. They include podcasts, videos, blogs, and news articles, and are now a source for people to receive the Call to Freedom's podcasts. So be sure to check them out. Again, that's rationalreview.com. And we've got a story here from Reason about UC Berkeley, which occasionally does some really stupid and bizarre things.
This one's pretty bizarre.
Apparently, during the course of the preparations for their Easter egg hunt, they accidentally gave something to an attorney, and the attorney wrote out this apparently rather lengthy and encompassing waiver for parents to sign before their kids could participate in this Easter egg hunt. Made all the worse because ultimately all they did was put the eggs out there in the grass.
So what's in this waiver? That's the question.
Well, hold on. According to the waiver, which was obtained by Reason, the undersigned agreed that participation in the activity carries with it certain risks that cannot be eliminated regardless of the care taken to avoid injuries. These risks ranged from 1. Minor injuries such as scratches, bruises, and sprains. 2. Major injuries such as an eye injury or loss of sight, joint or back injuries, heart attacks, and concussions. 3. Catastrophic injuries, including paralysis and death.
Your kid is going. What
attack?
Kind of Easter egg hunt is this where your kid might have a heart attack or die?
You would have to inject there would be some sort of drug that they would have to be giving these kids to induce a heart attack. Kids generally don't have heart attacks. That's something that people who are getting up there in age tend to be vulnerable to.
Well, somebody with some sort of genetic heart condition could have a heart attack brought about by the excitement. And
maybe, but the kids?
Yeah. As a result of some sort of genetic heart condition.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's likely, but it
this
could
is
happen.
It seems like the most unlikely way. How many kids die a year from a heart attack? I really have to wonder.
I doubt it's very many.
I've never heard of one at all, period.
Really?
Now, I'm not sure that it doesn't happen, but it seems like such a low...
That's such a rare event. You'd think it would be national news if it ever happened.
First headline is from April the 1st of this year. Okay. 6-year-old boy dies after suffering heart attack during baseball team.
That says April 1st. Is it real?
Well, it's from today.com.
Okay.
And it's from CBS News and NBC News. Apparently, that just seems to be the most recent, and that's the day that it happened.
Okay.
But he had a rare congenital heart defect.
Do the major news outlets not do April Fools?
Probably not about dead 6-year-old kids, I would imagine. That might be a step too far for the average person.
Yeah, you would think. Yeah.
Donald Trump to step down might be an April Fool's that they would run.
Yes, yeah, I can see that.
But I don't see them going, oh, a 6-year-old kid died today.
We can say that it definitely happens, but it seems like it still is going to be such
it's going to be
a very rare thing.
Such a rare thing.
So is paralysis as a result of an Easter egg hunt. That's exceedingly
How do you even
rare.
Get paralyzed at an Easter egg hunt?
By getting body slammed by another kid who was trying to beat you to the egg, I guess.
Yeah, but this Easter egg hunt was not that sort of full contact sport.
It was certainly not.
Wait till I have read this article already.
Yeah, it gets worse.
It gets worse.
It definitely gets worse. Now, those are the possible injuries. And let's not forget loss of sight. You could go blind from this Easter egg hunt as well. So blindness, heart attack, paralysis, and death.
It seems like such a stretch to claim that the Easter egg hunt would be the part that's responsible for any of these things that are happening. You might have a heart attack at an Easter egg hunt, but that doesn't mean you wouldn't have had the heart attack otherwise, right?
Right.
Well, sure, but if you're hosting an event for little kids and you're some sort of corporate entity and somebody gets injured on your property, you're very likely to be held legally liable for that.
Yeah, I don't
get sued.
I don't doubt that. I just think it's just so ridiculous that
it's America.
Is.
People sue over the drop of a hat.
Existence on somebody's property makes you, the owner of that property, liable for their whatever happens, right?
It's totally ridiculous.
I understand if maybe there is some sort of danger that you created, maybe. But come on.
Yeah, if I threw during the middle of January, if I threw a bunch of water out there onto my driveway and then invited somebody over, they slipped and broke their leg, I would be liable for that, right?
Right. But if it's the natural...
But if it just freaking sleeted the night before...
Right, it snows or sleets or... Yeah. Right, it's just ridiculous.
It is, but in the modern legal system, I think we would be held responsible if the mailman broke their leg.
Yeah.
Or any of these people come by visiting during sleet.
it's one of the reasons why it's important for people to actually like shovel their driveway and put like, stuff down to keep people from slipping and stuff. I mean, it's insane, but it's because of our crazy legal system that.
What about an uninvited guest? Like if somebody just popped over.
If a burglar breaks into your house, you're liable.
You're correct. I forgot about that.
You're liable for any kind of injury that is caused.
Unless you shoot them. In which case, for some bizarre twist of logic, you wouldn't be held responsible.
Yes, in some states at least, not across the board.
Well, here in New Hampshire and in Mississippi, both are places I've lived, and in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and it might also, I don't know, but it might also require a self-defense. So in some cases, so if just breaking in might not be sufficient, but if they then threaten you after they break in or something to that effect.
Ideally, you wouldn't kill them by shooting them.
The difference here is like if you shoot them in the back as they are running from you, that's not self-defense. So that's why I make the distinction.
Is it not? I mean, okay, fair enough. If you already chased them out of your house and you shoot them in the back, I could certainly see you going to jail at least for some period of time because of that. But if they're like trying to climb back out your window because they see you there with a gun and you still shoot them, I would say I would imagine that you should at least, and I don't know what the legal position would be, but you should still be covered.
I think it's probably dependent on the state.
By some sort of home defense concept.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, I think there are a lot of states you'd be in the right probably, and even if the person was fleeing, you'd still probably be able to shoot them. But
if they break into if they break into your home and they cut their hand off with the glass on the window, you're responsible for that? You're legally
responsible? It would depend on the state, right? So, but presumably we're talking about sites where you have the right to shoot them to protect either your life or your property. Right. And I suspect, and I don't really know because I don't know the different laws between the states, but I would suspect there's probably some states where one you can protect your life using arms, but you can't protect your property using arms. So it would it sort of depends probably, I suspect, depending on the state.
Well, if somebody breaks into your property, you don't know that your life isn't threatened. And I think most of the time the legal system would allow you to assume that this person who broke into your home in the dead of night was a threat to your life.
Well, I
don't think you have to ask them, are you threatening me or are you just here to rob me?
Well, one of the problems is if they're facing you, probably you would be okay. But if they're facing away from you, that's when, and you shoot somebody in the back, that's where the problem comes in, I think.
I don't think that's correct either. If I go down to my kitchen, there's somebody standing there. And they're facing out, they're digging around through a drawer or something like that, so their back is to me. It's going to be considered self-defense if I shoot them.
I think that probably would depend on the state and depends on how the law is written.
Well, I mean, in a place like California, you're likely to go to prison, just for owning the gun,
right? But I'm maybe I'm wrong here because I am making assumptions, but
as am I. I'm not a legal
but I
expert.
would think there's probably states where it would be, in other states where it would be that are not that have some sort of self-defense law.
I would hope so. Well, this is the Call to Freedom. We're going to get more about this deadly Easter egg hunt, the one that might cause catastrophic injuries, blindness, paralysis, and even death. So don't go anywhere. This is the Call to Freedom. All right, welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom, and I wanted to take a second to tell you about the Thin Blue Line game, which allows you to have sex with prostitutes and then arrest them. It allows you to bust people for drugs and then sell the drugs on the side for a nice little bonus. It basically lets you enjoy the power rush of being a cop without all the paperwork. And you can find it at thinbluelinegame.com. It's the only card game in the world that allows you to shoot someone over a broken taillight and then escape accountability with the magical phrase, "I feared for my life." Typical cop stuff. Get it now at thinbluelinegame.com. Assault and battery is not included, but for a limited time, you can order your copies and use the coupon code CTF to have all shipping costs waived. So go get it. That's thinbluelinegame.com.
That sounds like a couple cops in Manchester got arrested for exactly the whole rape and basically with prostitutes and such.
In Manchester?
Yeah, in Manchester.
I have never heard anything freaking positive about Manchester.
Yeah, Manchester is awful. Well, the whole trial. There was a trial. Somebody got arrested for basically filming cops in Manchester, and yeah, basically it was a result of that investigation, and because the lawyers did they filed some paperwork, and it would force them to investigate the cops, and the cops turned out were lying about where they were at certain times, and so a further investigation occurred, and it turns out that they were basically raping prostitutes and got fired and criminally charged. And I think the charges ultimately were like they never actually saw a courtroom, but they were fired, and yeah.
So now they just work for a different police department.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's not good. But anyway, back to more heartening news, because that's pretty depressing stuff there.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Sorry.
The question that Reason wants to know is, are they hunting Easter eggs or landmines?
Must be landmines with that kind of disclaimer.
Goodness gracious, said Robert Strand, executive director and lecturer at the Center for Responsible Business at the UC Berkeley Haas School of Business. Yeah. In an interview with Reason. God, that was the longest freaking title they could have given to this dude with this short-ass name. Once you signed, you got the tickets, and then you walk over to these 3 different roped-off areas for kids of different ages, and literally it was just a flat grass surface where they would just place the eggs.
The eggs are just sitting there. You walk over, you pick some up, and you're done. It was,
Each kid was allowed to pick up 5 eggs, and they were basically completed in about a minute. Because
they're just sitting there. You go pick up 5 eggs, and you're done. And that needs a waiver where you are disclaiming responsibility for paralysis and death.
Man, I remember Easter egg hunts when I was little, and that was nowhere near. I mean, we were literally dashing for those eggs, and the objective was to collect as many eggs as you could.
Yeah.
And there was river in between, well, a stream, and like all sorts of, like crazy woods. And,
obstacles, and you had to actually look for the eggs.
Right. And the eggs were hidden, and yeah, that's I did not know how. I don't know. Is wussified the word that I'm looking for?
I don't know what they've done to this.
I mean, it's a qualified, I would say. That they're so concerned that, this little mouth-breathing, borderline, barely functional kid won't be able to find any eggs, so they limit each kid to 5 eggs.
Right.
And they want to make sure that everybody is capable of finding them, including that kid who can barely, breathe. Not to insult such kids, but they shouldn't probably be participating in these sorts of public events in the first place if it's going to damage their self-esteem because they can't do the task. And to accommodate those people, they just set the eggs out there. It's like, go get 5. I mean, at this point, they could have just signed the waiver and had some administrator standing by going, here, kid, here's your 5 eggs.
Geez, no wonder why kids these days are tied to their tablets. The tablets are more interesting than the real world.
Yeah, I mean, they put themselves at much greater risk going around hunting for Pokemon.
Yeah, you're right. They do, don't they?
They do. And the Pokemon are harder to find.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was
crazy.
Yeah, that was it. He's glad they put the event on, obviously. But when there's not an Easter egg event, they have kids jumping off of things and all that kind of stuff. But he argues that it's small accidents that we learn from and that we should be thankful for and that we should allow kids to engage in and have. Yeah, because it teaches them to avoid the big accidents, right?
That's true.
Could you imagine if a child that was learning to walk, but you never let them, try to stand up? Could you just imagine? I mean,
you couldn't do it.
Their legs wouldn't develop, so they'd never actually be able to stand up.
Yeah, they'd never be able to walk.
They'd have atrophy.
You have to actually make the attempt and fail before you succeed.
Right.
Try again.
Well, yeah, but there's certainly something to be said about not letting your kid climb, to the very top of the trees because they'll fall out and break their neck. That's not really the sort of injury that one can earn a little accident with.
No, but kids don't start by climbing the biggest tree. I mean, they start by climbing little trees and they work their way up.
They start by climbing out of their crib.
By the time they get to that big tree and they're not afraid to climb to the top, they're probably actually capable of climbing to the top with reasonably good chances that they're going to be able to get down. I mean, it's not to say that it never happens.
This kid I'm thinking of, he definitely got down.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's not like it never happens where some kid goes above and beyond what their capabilities are. But
sure,
I mean, come on, you don't learn what your capabilities are by
very true,
with not pushing the envelope.
Very true. One definitely needs to push the envelope. Find out where the rules are, where one's limitations actually are, instead of playing it safe all the time.
It's not even the rules; it's your own limitations.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm speaking more generally.
True.
I just think envelopes in general should be pushed.
Oh, definitely.
In all aspects. Like with Topless Aria on Twitch last night. Push the envelope. See what happens.
Push the limits.
So nobody was injured.
There wasn't even you couldn't get injured at this thing if you tried.
Well, you could, I guess.
Maybe if you really tried.
I mean,
if you put some effort into it.
Some kid might scrape his knee or something if he falls down on the grass and it happens to hit I don't know, an egg would probably just crack. I don't even know. Yeah. I don't know.
If it was roped off, there were probably some sort of posts. And one could run into
the post? Maybe. I don't know.
Suffer some sort of head injury.
It might not be how sturdy do the posts actually have to be for a little bit of rope? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine the area posts, here was very large.
The posts, and I put that in quotes, might just topple over if you run into them, I suspect.
Yeah, like they use at movie theaters and things like that. Still, that would hurt if a kid ran full speed into it.
I'm not even sure it would be the posts at movie theaters. Those are probably even stronger than the ones they're going to use. That's probably more like a marker kind of thing where you've got a little bit of rope attached to it. I suspect. I don't know.
Well, they could also get rope burn, which certainly isn't catastrophic, but could happen.
I mean, rope might also be a stretch. I mean, think probably more like, police tape that's made of plastic, right? That's probably the materials that they were using. It would probably break if some kid even ran into it.
Yeah, that stuff breaks easily.
That's my suspicion. I could be wrong here, but...
Well, they certainly described it as they said roped off area. So,
roped off area, though, is probably too general of a term
big,
to really... Yeah, I mean, I know
that doesn't necessitate
rope,
any sort of rope.
Yeah.
Could just be a little twine or something,
Well, they could choke themselves to death with it.
No, I suspect it's not even twine. I suspect they just used police tape, but not. It doesn't say police on it, but it's
the caution tape.
Yeah, the caution tape is exactly the kind of tape I'm thinking of.
Is that strong enough for a person to choke themselves? Because I am trying my best to envision some way that somebody could actually die from this event.
I think that's just going to be plastic that's going to break on you if you were to run into it.
That's what I would have thought. Well, yeah. I mean, deliberately wrap it around their necks and choke themselves to death with it.
You would have to it would have to actually be something intentional.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be even a stretch. It probably would break before you choked to death.
That's my question.
Yeah.
I don't think that sort of tape would be strong enough.
I don't think so either.
Okay, well, we got a heart attack from this then. Okay.
Yeah, but how are you going to get stressed enough to have a heart attack from this completely pointless Easter egg non-hunt?
You're going to get that stressed by taking the caution tape and wrapping it around your throat until you can't breathe.
I could see a baseball game maybe, somebody having a heart attack at a baseball game because there's actual, I don't know, exertion involved. But I mean, this is an Easter egg hunt, and they don't even seem to be allowed to run because
in our Easter egg hunts there was exertion.
Well, right, but that's not the kind of Easter egg hunt this was. I mean, clearly,
you'd
story,
grab another kid and throw them straight into the dirt to go get a bigger egg. Right.
Yeah, we had to actually.
It was a contact sport.
Yeah. I don't know if I remember any contact in terms of Easter egg hunts, but certainly.
Well, me and my cousins, we were all rough on each other. All in good fun.
But this is some sort of public event, it sounds like. So it's, there's not going to be contact.
We wouldn't have done that at the church and things like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like to be. It just seems such a stretch.
The whole concept of Easter eggs is something that would be fun to discuss as well, because, here you have this god who turned himself into a human and then came back as a zombie, and we're going to hide eggs in the grass, and a rabbit is going to hide eggs in the grass. Very bizarre stuff. I don't know of any link between the two. This is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. I'm your host, as always, Ari Mesa, author of Dancing in Hellfire, which you can find on Amazon. I'm joined in the studio today by
Chris
of
Freedom Decrypted.
Okay,
a tech show for tech people.
Yeah,
liberty oriented,
and they can listen to it at freedomdecrypted.com.
Freedomdecrypted.com.
Yep. There you go. I'm Michael Hampton from CryptoTip.org.
Very cool. Chris, you brought in two really fascinating stories, one of which I'm far more interested in than the other, but both of which are humorous for different reasons.
Yeah.
So pick one that you'd like to start with.
Okay, let's start with the Facebook one just because I have it up on the screen. So this is a story from, let's see, The Guardian, and the title is Facebook Are Morally Bankrupt Liars, says New Zealand's Privacy Commissioner.
She's one to talk.
Yeah.
I saw earlier, it was in the Rational Review News Digest, some blog characterizing Mark Zuckerberg as the most dangerous man in the United States.
Wow.
Oh, he might be number 3 or 4, but I can think of a few more than.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems. I mean, if they're actually being serious about that, and they're not just.
I mean, did you see who's in the White House?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Trump is definitely more dangerous than Zuckerberg. I mean, certainly.
But Trump has the information on us that he could have because of Zuckerberg. So Zuckerberg would be a facilitator.
There is some argument there, but I don't necessarily know that Facebook was in and of itself alone the reason that we have Trump. So
well, certainly not.
I think it's a bit of a stretch to say that Zuckerberg is the reason for Trump. Therefore, I think
that's not what I'm getting at all.
Okay. Where are you going with that?
Any information that the government wanted to know about us, like our preferences, likes, our friends, our family, our music interests, our location, things like that. It's all on Facebook for the vast majority of people.
Yeah, but you know what? The difference between...
And all of that information can be turned over to the government in an instant.
Here's why I don't think Facebook is as dangerous as Trump, for example, or the government in general. And it's mainly because you have a choice. You can use Facebook or you can choose not to use Facebook. You can't choose to use the government or not use the government or be under its oppression, basically.
Well, Facebook isn't a state. That's certainly true.
Right. So you can opt in or opt out. And you can't really do that easily with the government, right?
It's a little bit hard to opt out of the state.
Yeah, I mean, even if you were to leave the United States, especially the United States, you have this problem of states cooperating. And it's not to say that every state cooperates, but the reality is, unfortunately, that there's not a whole heck of a lot of options, and it's a huge thing to undertake. And even then, it's like the government is going to demand tens of thousands of dollars now in order for you to leave.
Well, the negligence also makes Facebook unusually dangerous, like allowing, I think it was 500 million user accounts and passwords to be stored in plain text on an Amazon server with absolutely no password protection on it whatsoever. I mean, that information was just there, available for anybody who wanted to go and find it.
I mean, that's not something, personally, I think people should have realized a long time ago. And I guess people don't follow the news nearly as much as I do. But
there's Facebook is, doing screwed up things with privacy. And then there's, Facebook is storing plain text passwords on Amazon servers that anybody in the entire world can access.
Listen,
that's a different level of negligence.
Facebook has literally lost access to its entire database and all the pictures and everything else every so many years. Somebody manages to gain access to it. And this is not something that's happened recently. It's been happening repeatedly over the many years, over the past 10 years that Facebook's been around. So it seems like it's not much of an excuse to say, oh, I didn't know. It's like,
well, the average person doesn't know.
I mean, you really would have to.
The average person doesn't know about MK Ultra.
You're probably right, but at the same time, it's really hard to be so ignorant not to know. I mean, there's been movies, it's been in the story numerous times over the years.
I don't hear about these screwed up things that Facebook does outside of
Wait. Do you get all your news from Facebook?
I'm not even on Facebook anymore.
Okay. Because I was just going to say, maybe it's because you're exclusively tied to Facebook and getting all your news from Facebook that you don't hear about all the things that Facebook is doing.
And I mean, I literally just mentioned the Rational Review News Digest, which...
That's where you get all your news.
That is, because every day they compile 15 to 20 news stories and 15 to 20 blogs related to news stories.
But keep in mind, if it's happening through Facebook that you're getting those stories linked to you, you won't get linked to
it's via email.
Okay.
It's run and managed by Thomas Knapp, who is a really awesome libertarian.
The point that I'm trying to make is that if you're getting all your news from links on Facebook, right? Then even if you're reading another news source, you won't get the links that relate to Facebook news because Facebook will block those links.
I don't think Facebook. Really? I don't believe that. I mean, they certainly would have the power to.
I've seen lots of negative coverage of Facebook on Facebook.
Yeah, that's the thing to do, is when you're upset about Facebook, you go to Facebook to bitch on Facebook about Facebook.
Yeah,
like all the libertarians, so pointless.
All the libertarians back in December when whatever it was Facebook did that made them so butthurt. They were like, "Oh, I'm leaving Facebook," and then
so just to be clear, I'm not actually accusing Facebook of doing that specific thing. I don't know that they do that specific thing. I do know that they manipulate the materials that come in front of you.
They certainly do.
I don't have personal experience with any of that. I do know that there's other entities.
Have you never had a Facebook account?
I've never had a Facebook account.
You have never had a Facebook account?
I've never had a Facebook account, and it's been intentional the entire time. I do know that there's other...
Are you 80?
No, I'm 34, and Facebook was started about the time I was in college, actually. So it's I think 2 years into my college life, Facebook got off the ground. So, but yeah, no, there's others like I'm trying to think of what's the gaming platform? Steam. Steam does it. Steam links or censors links to news stories outside of the platform. So it's not like these companies do that. I don't want to say,
I'm not surprised to find that Steam
these
does
stories, or these companies, these big companies like this do that kind of thing.
Well, Steam isn't the place one would go for news.
No, it's not. But that's all the more reason why it's surprising that they're censoring news stories or links to news stories on the platform.
Well, I don't think they want to be a social media platform.
They are a social media platform to some degree. I think it would be disingenuous to say it's not. For people in the gaming sector, is it not being used for communication? They've got it built into the platform. They've got communications mechanisms built right into the platform. I don't remember the details of exactly what they do, but
but when we say social media platform, I don't think that's what anybody means.
I think it's the
equivalent of saying that like forum.freetalklive.com.
I agree with you on that. I think you're right. It's not one of your social media platforms that people think of when they say social media platforms. Although when I speak about social media platforms, I am more encompassing with my when I am trying to say than just Facebook or Twitter or...
you're not wrong. It has friends mechanisms and all that kind of crap and discussion boards and all that. So it certainly has all of the features of a social media platform with the exception of posting updates.
Okay.
There is not such a feature for that.
Yeah. So I would include something like Slashdot as a social media platform, even though it's not, it's not at all got a lot of the features that a typical social media platform would have.
Okay.
But there is moderation of different types, and there's accounts, and so.
I would like to see Valve actually turn Steam into a social media platform.
That would be interesting. They probably would be in a position to do it, I bet.
They would. And, as far as gaming companies go, they're relatively benign. So I don't think there would actually be a lot of censorship.
I certainly have to say that...
Well, they did pull that one game that we talked about a month ago.
That game was about literally raping people, though.
I'm okay with that. Not actually raping people, but a game about raping
I am
people.
too, but I understand why they wouldn't want to sell it in their store. Right. Ideologically, okay, I get why the game exists. If I owned a store, I wouldn't sell the game.
It's a dangerous route to go to censor it, so I wouldn't do it on principle, but...
Really?
Yeah.
A game about raping people.
Yeah.
You would sell it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I certainly wouldn't. But we're going to get into Facebook and why this guy thinks that they're the devil here on the Call to Freedom, so don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. As always, you're invited to give us a call. That number is 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or if you prefer clearer quality, you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And we've been talking about Facebook before we got sort of sidetracked into a discussion about how, at the least interesting, it would be if Valve turned Steam into a legitimate social media platform.
What makes a social media platform legitimate?
I would
you have friends and
that
you share things with them.
the ability. That's bingo. Yeah,
Well, can't you already do that on Steam?
not really.
That already apply to Steam?
I mean, you can message people directly and things like that.
Okay,
but
does it have to be one-to-many?
I would say that yes.
One-to-many. Okay,
one-to-many.
IRC would count, but
I would say it has to be one-to-many.
Is there no one-to-many anything on Steam?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
not even like with voice chats when you're playing games?
Well, most of the time, the games themselves facilitate that.
Oh, okay. I thought there was something built into Steam for that.
There is for setting up games and for playing multiplayer games and things like that.
Okay.
But with a lot of the cases, it's also just sort of a DRM platform.
Yep.
Which, that's an entirely different subject. I thought I missed that button. And I missed it again. Okay. But yeah, by integrating themselves with Discord to the extent that they have, I would say that they have, in fact, become a social media platform.
This is a question.
However, inadvertently, because like right now, if you look on discord.lrn.fm, it shows me right there as playing Smite. That's me sharing with every single Discord server that I'm on that I'm playing Smite.
So here's a question. Here's a question I have. Is
your computer at home is?
Yeah. I'm not up to date with like a lot of the social media stuff because it's all stuff I refuse to use. Well, not all of it, I should say. I mean, I'm on Mastodon, but that's not like a centralized platform.
Right.
So my question for you is that actually owned by Steam, or is it?
No, Discord is owned by a separate company.
Okay, so it's a separate company, and they're somehow integrating into Steam?
Yes.
Okay.
They communicate with one another, is the way I would put it.
So it's not Discord is a individual piece of software, and it's sort of like Pigeon communicating with AOL Instant Messenger platform.
I'm too young for AOL.
I'm not. I was on there.
Maybe you can answer the question. So is it sort of like that?
Okay, which is sort of like that? Discord?
Yeah.
Missed part of this question.
Discord's Steam
integration in Steam, it's not integrated. It's just basically using the same protocol and communicating with the same servers.
Steam is using Discord. I'm not familiar with exactly how Steam and Discord are integrated, though.
It's got to be. It's got to be. What
I don't use Steam.
I mean, they're probably not integrating Steam. They're just communicating. The messages are just being communicated on Discord from Steam.
Does Steam have a Discord server?
And to be fair, it's not strictly speaking Steam. You're correct, and I'm glad Michael said what he said, because it seems to be that Discord keeps an eye out for running processes on your computer. Come to think of it, because
Discord does?
Yes. Because even games that I don't have through Steam, then that I might have through Good Old Games or just, the TPB, the Pirate Bay, will show up there. And show me as playing like Civilization 5 or whatever, which I do own via Steam, but I don't play via Steam because I never bought any expansions packs for it because it was a broken mess when it first released, and I refused to give them any more money ever, which, interestingly enough, is not stopping me from playing their games.
It never does. Okay, so Discord is finding that information out either by asking Steam directly or by just watching your processes on your computer.
Yeah, I don't think it's watching Steam directly. I think it's watching your processes on your computer. Because it will also show like ZSNESW, which is a Super Nintendo emulator.
That makes a lot of sense. It's just looking at the process or the task manager, so to speak, if you were at Windows,
and it knows
knowing, and then basically picking out whichever executables are particular games. It will then notify. Okay, that makes sense.
So run the question of
but it's also
AOL
integrated with like OBS Studio and things like that. So I guess Discord is the social media platform at the end of the day.
Okay. So it's using the social so it's probably using the Discord servers and but it's its own program basically, Steam. It's its own code.
I'm not sure there's any communication whatsoever between Steam and Discord.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there.
Well,
I don't think there is.
Okay, so if there's no connection, then how is Steam a social media platform? I would think there would have to be some.
You're the one who said they were.
That was my understanding of. That's my understanding of.
I'm not going to try
Steam.
to defend your position here, Chris.
Look, I'm not. So I only know what I've been told, right? So if I'm misinterpreting something or not understanding something correctly, that's what you guys will kind of need to clarify for me, because
Were you playing video games around the Crossfire era? I think it was called Crossfire.
Probably not. No, I did not. I have not played any games since the 90s.
Okay. This was around the 90s. When was Civilization 4 big?
Oh, my.
Because it was like the last big game that used it. But anyway, I guess it was around 2001, 2002.
Okay.
But basically, it did the same thing that Steam does in regard to multiplayer. It allowed people to see, it allowed you to set up friends and to see who was playing other games and to join their games and create games with your friends and things like that.
And
like
that
Steam
happens
does.
on Steam?
It does happen on Steam.
That sounds like social media to me.
Sure.
Kind of.
Yeah, but there's really not much of a process for finding friends and adding friends at random, like you have on other social media platforms.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that could be okay. I could see where you could have that.
You might meet someone in a game and then add them, but
So that might actually
I've certainly
be,
done that a lot.
That might actually be kind of what makes a social media platform.
Is the ability to hook up with strangers? Hook up in the sense of, I guess, meet.
Hook up with other people.
Connect, follow.
Well, Steam does
whatever.
that. Steam lets you
But
connect
if you
with
have
other
no
people.
way of hooking up with a specific individual,
But you kind of do. Like when I was playing Smite earlier, I could have gone to any of their Steam profiles. Well, not any of them, because some of them probably are not using Steam.
If let's say you wanted to play with Michael over here, you'd be able to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Even if we weren't friends.
Huh. Right. Interesting.
I don't know if he's got Steam installed or not, but I don't think we're friends.
Well, I'm just
Steam.
saying, assuming he was a
Right.
Steam user and you were a Steam user, you'd both be able to communicate.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how you define social media platform at that point. I mean, it's like what constitutes a modern social media platform?
Well, I think strictly speaking, you're correct that Steam would have to be considered a social media platform. However limited it may be in allowing people to share. It has a very narrow scope of the types of things that people can share.
It seems like it's a social media platform for gamers, basically. That's how it comes off to me. But I don't know.
I thought it was just an app store for gamers.
Well, it is certainly
It is an app store for gamers. That's what it started as, and I think it kind of expanded to.
Well, it started as both,
social media
really.
is
Oh, did it
features.
start with all of these features?
In fact, I think it may have started as being the social media platform and adding the storefront later.
Oh, really?
I think.
Interesting.
I would have to look into it more specifically.
Interesting.
But they either started both at the same time, because the social aspect has always been key to Steam, at least.
Okay.
But this is the Call to Freedom, and we're actually going to get to Facebook, so relax.
Eventually.
We're going to talk about Facebook and what they're doing wrong, so stay tuned. Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. And I'd like to take a moment to direct you to our social media platforms. You can find us on Facebook by using @CallToFreedom. You can find us on Twitter by using @CTF_LRN. Really sorry about that. There's really nothing we can do at this point. You can also find us on Mastodon or on the Liberdon server. And you can join our Discord server at discord.lrn.fm, where I think all of these shows hosts are members except Chris here, who doesn't do social media.
No.
Not even Discord.
Hold on. Let's back up a moment. I do social media. I just don't do most of your major platforms because I have issues with the entities behind them and the centralization aspects of them.
Well, I once found a story about how South Korea was using Discord to spy on people. And I have never again found that story. I only saw it that once, so take it with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
But I did see that story with my own eyes. I don't think I ever even clicked it because I wasn't using Discord at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember taking note of it, that this popular gaming, I don't remember what they characterized it as, a chat server, I guess, was being used by the South Korean government to spy on people.
Okay.
But I've never found that story again, and there's no Google search that results in anything along those lines. So I don't know. Maybe I was just on too much acid that day.
It wouldn't surprise me because we know there's a bunch of different spying apparatuses that are being used by schools and probably governments and so forth to spy on people. So I mean, I'm sure there probably was. I've not heard that specific story about Discord, but we certainly know it's the case for Facebook and some other social media platforms. So,
well, Discord's an awesome little app, though.
Okay,
I have been very pleased with it.
Now, here's a question I have,
year or so.
And maybe I might just be blocking this out of my head every time you say it. But is Call to Freedom on Mastodon?
We are on
yes.
the Liberty.
Okay.
I just said that.
Okay, because that is one social media platform I am on, and that's why I am. Oh, yes, I know you're on it because, well, I know you are on it personally. I don't know if the show is on.
I am, but this phone doesn't have Tusky installed to it, so I have to reset that up. I became aware of that last night at like 2 a.m, but I was kind of drunk.
Gotcha.
So I didn't deal with it.
Okay,
yes,
so I
am
on apparently what has become a major social media platform. Shockingly. Everybody seems to be on Mastodon these days.
Well, everybody in this room, maybe.
No, everybody outside of this room that I know is also on Mastodon.
Really?
Yeah. So it seems to me, from my perspective at least, and look, my perspective is not everybody else's perspective.
Sure.
So I am sure there's people out there that are like, I don't know anybody on Mastodon, but it seems like everybody I know is on Mastodon, whether they're a technical person or they're not a technical person. So maybe that means everybody in the Liberty community is on it and everybody who's technical is on it. But yeah.
Interesting.
Because that's most of the people I know.
Outside of the Liberty community, I don't think anybody I know is on it.
That might be.
Yeah, very, very few people I know outside this community.
That's why I said my perspective is not necessarily reality, but it certainly seems that way to me because
Telegram would technically qualify as a social media platform then.
Yeah, kind of.
I don't know a whole lot of people outside of the Liberty community that are on Telegram.
No, and I want to see that fixed.
Yeah.
I actually did have a random friend of mine who used to sing in one of the bands that I played in, who she's not a libertarian. She's a lesbian, but she's a bit libertine, but she's not a libertarian at all. She's not politically active in any way, but she joined Telegram the other day.
I will say that I do know that there's a lot of tech people on Telegram, though.
She's not tech either.
But I don't, like I know there's all sorts of crypto groups and stuff on Telegram, and I'm sure there's technical people I know who are on Telegram. Well, I actually do know there's a lot of people technical. I know there's people on technical people. Actually, I do know some technical people on Telegram. And the only reason why I know they're on Telegram is because they were on before I was on Telegram, and then it told me, oh, hey, I don't know if it told me, but they messaged me. Somebody messaged me because they had my phone number and whatever. And
there are also hookup groups on Telegram.
But
so for the people out there wanting to get off of Grindr and Tinder, there you go.
Interesting. I don't know how well that would work.
The problem with Telegram as a social networking platform is it's hard to find new groups on Telegram unless somebody tells you about the group's existence.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
How would you find a group, say, on Facebook?
You just search for it.
You can just search for it?
Can you search via
You can
Telegram?
search on Telegram for groups too, no?
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's open groups and there's closed groups. So if it's an open group, you can just search for it. And Ian over here seems to be shaking his head yes, so it seems like I'm right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would imagine, there is a search box. I would be shocked to find that, these open groups didn't show up in the search results.
Right. And
it seems like that's kind of what it's there for.
There's different search boxes. So there's search boxes for searching a group, the contents, what's in a group, and there's also a search box for searching users, and then there's and groups, and then I think there's also one if you go to search for open groups as well. So it's not just one search box for.
So Telegram is another social media platform that you use.
Yeah, again, it's not. I don't. It's funny. I don't. It's funny. There's a lot of things I would recognize as social media platforms or think of as social media platforms that are beyond what you probably would consider a social media platform, but it's not one of them actually.
Why not?
I don't know.
It does all of the same things.
You would think, yeah. So maybe you could include it, and I bet you if there was a law passed on it, and there probably have been, it would be included in social media platform. within that definition of the legal definition of that would be produced from it. But it just seems more like an instant messaging application than it is a social media application. And it might be because it's not so much geared towards the one-to-many construct. But I guess, if everybody's on it, it becomes a social media platform. So it seems to be one of the major things.
The groups certainly qualify as one-to-many.
Yeah, like you're probably right. I think you're probably right about that. I don't necessarily know how well it works for one-to-many once you get beyond a certain size. But then again, I don't know how well one-to-many
Aren't groups like
works.
hard capped at like 5,000 members or something?
I don't know. It might be maybe 500, 5,000 or something like that. I think there is a limit though. But then at the same time, how effective is Facebook? Facebook is totally ineffective, especially now at communicating with other people. So, I don't know.
Yes, it is.
Unless you pay them, I guess. But yeah.
It's so ineffective that they've had to make 2 messenger apps, one of which actually functions and the other which is so just filled with bloat.
Yeah, Messenger Lite.
Yeah, that it's a complete waste of time.
Are people still using Messenger, Facebook Messenger?
I'm using Messenger Lite.
Okay, interesting.
Because Messenger is a bloated piece of junk that is 10 times the size it needs to be.
Yeah,
pretty much.
I don't really know a whole lot about other than what I've read about a lot of these platforms, and I guess there's a new one out called TikTok or Tik something.
I don't know what that is.
It's apparently something that under 18s are really into now, I guess, and it's some sort of.
I know one day it just appeared on my Facebook feeds before I left Facebook.
Yeah,
just constantly.
I only heard about it because there was some article. I think there may have been a few articles now that I've read about it, and it's one I've never heard of before. And I guess it's popular with people under 18, according to the story. And of course, it was a FUD story, so
yeah.
You can. I'm not even going to go into what it was, but
I can guess.
You can imagine.
They accuse Snapchat of the same.
Yeah. So that doesn't surprise me.
No.
Yeah.
But we do have a story about Facebook, so let's at least allude to what we're talking about.
So New Zealand's privacy commissioner has lashed out at social media giant Facebook in the wake of the Christchurch attacks, calling the company morally bankrupt, pathological liars.
And this is the country that has a chief censor.
Yes, this is the most hilarious thing that I can possibly. This is something that you could describe the privacy commissioner here, right? Like. Morally bankrupt, absolutely. Pathological liar, absolutely. Right?
Yeah.
The commissioner.
You work for a state.
Right, exactly. And in New Zealand, of all places. The commissioner used his personal Twitter page to lambast the social network, which has also drawn the ear of Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern for hosting a live stream of the attacks that left 50 people dead, which was then copied and shared all over the internet.
Yeah, but Facebook did put effort into keeping it from being shared on their platform.
They did, and they're still attacked for it.
Well, we're going to get into this issue that New Zealand seems to have with Facebook, so don't go anywhere. This is the Call to Freedom. Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. As always, you're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Once more, that's 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And I would like to remind you that our podcasts are no longer being uploaded to Spreaker. They can instead be found at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com, as well as on Spotify. Most of our listens actually come via Spotify.
Really?
They do. It's like 26%.
All right. So what is Spotify?
A plurality of our.
So Spotify, I think of as a music service, maybe Apple's.
It's largely a music streaming service.
It is, but they do
actually have talk shows and podcasts.
They do have a talk show and podcast category. Interesting.
Yes.
So does it just get connected to an RSS feed, and then is that how it works?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so Spotify is another platform that would be good to have freedom decrypted on, maybe.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
It only took a few seconds to set up.
I am learning more and more about these different platforms because I have a show now, and I'm thinking about.
We're also on Google Play Music. It also that took longer to set up.
Play Music, huh?
But luckily, I had set it up years ago when I was doing a show called Rantings and Ravings of the Anarchist Shemale. So I already had all of the background stuff done. I'd already been approved by Google and all of that kind of thing. So all I had to do was add in the new show, which is Call to Freedom.
Yep.
Which means, unfortunately, that for people to find it, they have to look me up. They can also search for Call to Freedom. That's why I name the episodes as I do, because that's for very weird reasons. If you name the show, whatever you name the actual file will become searchable on Google Play Music. So don't name it something for administrative purposes like test mic whatever,
or
then upload it to that.
Or show 23.
Yeah, because that's how it will be searchable on Google Play Music.
Right.
So I make sure to include Call to Freedom at the beginning of all of our file names.
Right.
Gotcha.
But it's very easy to set up. It uses the same RSS feed. So. But what I was getting at a moment ago in regard to Spotify is that I think it would technically qualify as a social media platform.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
because you can create.
I don't know enough about it.
You can create playlists and share them with friends. You can follow your friends, find out what they're listening to. They can share their playlist with you. You'll be notified when it's limited.
It's very limited. It's only about playing music.
It's got the social media aspects to it, though, which involve communicating with other people.
It doesn't really have an internal chat, though, does it?
I don't know. I've never attempted to. There is absolutely nobody I want to chat with via Spotify.
There's nobody I even want to add as a friend on Spotify.
It's got social media
one of my
aspects,
coworkers did it to me when I left it open one night when I had control of the music. One of my coworkers came over and was like, "Oh, by the way, you're following me now on Spotify." Dude, your tastes in music suck. Why am I following you on Spotify?
Right.
Actually, they're not that bad. It's just a much wider variety of music than what I'm willing to listen to. Like I could go the rest of my life listening to like the same 6 albums and not have an issue with it. But some people aren't like that. I mean, he listens to 6 different bands, 6 new bands every single day. It's been convenient because I've found out about bands like Hailstorm and In This Moment and Volbeat, who I'd never heard of before, and who are really, really good. We tried to use In This Moment as music beds, but they weren't initially flagged, which made me think, okay, this would work out just fine, and then they started getting flagged. Even Tool is flagging now.
Oh, yeah, I read that earlier today.
At least the song 46 and 2. I imagine it's because...
disappointing.
I imagine it's going to be limited to their singles like 46 and 2 and Sober and things like that. And I imagine that the change is a result of their new album coming up that they don't want on YouTube and not get paid for. That would be my speculation.
So only use the older material maybe, or you think it's going to be applied to everything?
Oh, well, it doesn't seem to be applied to the music beds that we use here on the show. But like last night after Aria Uncensored, we played the entirety of 46 and 2, and it sure enough got flagged. But again, it was the entire song. We play part of 46 and 2 every single day. Well, just about every single day.
It hasn't been flagged?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it's just the ending section. But yeah, so I'm not going to buy their new album. I generally do buy these new CDs of bands that I really, really like Tool and A Perfect Circle and Disturbed and Pink Floyd, because I really like them. I want them to keep making music. So when they release a new album, I'm going to support that endeavor. But not Tool. Not now. Not now after 15 years. I don't know if YouTube has even been around that long. But after all of these years, they're just 180ing with no explanation. This decision, suddenly they're going to begin monetizing my videos. When this flagrantly goes against the kinds of things they've been saying for the last 10 years about how once we produce these songs and we release them, they're no longer our songs. They're everybody's songs.
I bet their record label didn't like it.
Yeah, something.
Well, I mean, they have said this crap in front of live shows. They literally asked the audience's permission to change one of their songs once.
So, it's I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect that the people who are producing the music are not in control of their own music.
Well, and they are. They've had issues with record labels in the past because of it and ended up leaving their record label because of it. So they're with a new one now, and one of the things that was stipulated was that they would maintain that sort of creative control over their products.
So I'm wondering also are they doing it with or without permission? So a record label may be doing something that they don't actually have the right to do.
That's a good
in terms
point.
of taking down the content. And I'm not saying
they
that's
didn't
what's
take
happening.
it down.
I
They
don't
just
know.
put ads on it and started
monetizing it,
Yeah.
whatever.
Which pisses me off because I don't want any ads run
Right.
on my YouTube channel.
Right. Well,
Ever.
it's if they claim the right to monetize your what you produced.
Yeah, 1 minute out of a 2-hour video, they claimed all of the money from.
I understand.
And I wouldn't have any money from it anyway because I'm not going to run ads from it.
Right,
but they claimed ownership of my 2-hour long video because of a 1.5 minute long clip.
Yeah, and I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't like.
Whose freaking content is this? Right.
This is one more reason not to use YouTube. But it's also the tools that they have available, and I see why the record label would be doing it, and how it might not violate what the artists are saying. But I don't. I mean, again, I don't know specifically.
They didn't prevent it from being uploaded and things like that, or block it as some artists do.
Right. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't do the same thing as you, but I certainly.
Well,
see whether
all I'm really going to do is not buy their new album. I'm just going to pirate it instead.
Right.
I mean, I was going to pirate it anyway, but I was always, because that's just more convenient, and I don't actually even own a CD player anymore. But I was still going to buy the CD version of it, just to support them. I'm just going to skip that part now.
Yep.
Yeah. And not play 46 and 2 anymore.
Yeah.
But it seems to be a single issue because we've already heard part of The Pot and Third Eye, and I think one other today, and it's not going to get flagged or content ID'd, rather.
Shall we continue?
Yeah, sure. I mean, shall we get started would be a more appropriate question.
Yeah. Facebook cannot be trusted, wrote John Edwards. They are morally bankrupt, pathological liars who enable genocide. This is unbelievable.
That is
facilitate
unbelievable.
foreign undermining of democratic institutions. They allow the live streaming of suicides, rapes, murders, continue to host and publish the mosque attack video, allow advertisers to target Jew hater. This sounds like they're supporting free speech and other hateful market segments, and refuse to accept any responsibility for any content or harm.
I don't know if I would agree that allowing people to live stream rapes qualifies as free speech.
Oh, I think it does. I think there's a crime being committed, not in the process of streaming that video, but in the process of committing, the rape itself.
Right.
But one is evidence of another, right? So you don't need to outlaw the streaming of rapes in order to go after the person who is committing the rape. It just seems like you're basically
it's kind of an incentivizing thing, though.
The problem is you're endangering basically people's right to communicate, and that's just that undermines democracy. The idea
I don't agree,
it's a slippery
because
slope from outlawing rapes, or I'm sorry, the streaming of rapes, not outlawing rape.
Like if Twitch allowed for the streaming of rapes, people would find a way to monetize that.
But that still doesn't. That's still.
And then you have people literally incentivized.
Yeah, I mean,
to hire rapists to go out there and rape women just so they can live stream it.
I know that's messed up, but it's not the same thing as actually raping somebody. It's just not. It's like outlawing violent video games because somebody might go out there.
No, it's the difference between pulling a trigger yourself and hiring a killer to do it, hiring a hitman. I think
the connection is weak. It's a weak connection or weak argument.
Really, hiring a rapist is somehow different from going out and raping them yourself.
No, making the connection between that and streaming.
All right, welcome back to the Call to Freedom here on LRN.FM. I'm your host, as always, Aria DeMezzo. Lately, now of Aria Uncensored, which will air on Tuesday nights at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time at twitch.lrn.fm. Not tomorrow, because I did this week's episode last night, and we've decided that Tuesday is a better night for all involved parties. So it's going to be on Tuesday nights. It's a show that I do completely topless and uncensored. It was very entertaining.
Now, you're going to do it topless again?
Every episode. I'm going to be topless every single episode. We might be adding it to the LRN.FM family of shows. We're still debating or discussing whether or not it's beneficial to keep it Twitch only.
Now, are you even going to run it topless when they crank up the air conditioner in the summer? And it gets cold.
Oh my God, it'll be great. Yeah.
That's probably the best time to be topless.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can shut the air conditioner off. It's not like it's...
Well, it's not like it's going to be 12 degrees in here.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be an issue.
I don't know. That's a brand new air conditioner, so I'm not sure how.
I look forward to it. There is nothing better than it being just like 80 degrees outside and cold as crap inside.
That's true.
There's nothing better.
That's true. You can get cold though at a certain point if you're in.
All that's going to do is make my nipples hard. And people can watch them hard and live. Of course, I'm joined in the studio today by, before we get into a side conversation about my nipples, I'm joined by
Chris.
And
Freedom Decrypted.
Yes. Am I supposed to say that every time? Or?
I mean, you might as well.
Okay, Chris of Freedom Decrypted. FreedomDecrypted.com. Check us out. Live tech show.
I mean, you don't have to promote your show. I just thought you might want to.
I love to promote my show. I just I don't know. We don't really have I don't know if we have a system or not, really.
I mean, I guess we kind of do.
You guys do it every day, so I don't know. I do it once a week.
System.
Sure. Yeah. I rotate through different things, depending, like, if my music plays, then I'll, as we come back from one of the top of the hour breaks, then I will promote that. Or otherwise, I'm going to alternate between Anarchist Shemale, my book on Amazon, and now Aria Uncensored.
Nice.
And he alternates between Bitcoin history and CryptoTip.
CryptoTip.org.
I know the CryptoTip.org. I'm not familiar with Bitcoin history.
BitcoinHistory.com is it has not actually officially launched yet, but you can kind of it's soft launched. It is a news aggregator where I basically pull in all the news stories about crypto that I can find. And,
cool.
There's also kind of a prototype Block Explorer there, or rather a link to Block Explorer.
It's a cool little thing.
It's in progress.
It was a really good source of crypto news before we retired the Crypto Hour.
Ah, okay.
And I'm sure you noticed that. I don't know if you were here when we were making that decision.
I think I am aware. Well, no, I think we talked about the drugs. I don't know if we talked about the Crypto Hour, but certainly, maybe, I don't know. Maybe we did.
It was a different day of the week.
It might have been. I thought we kind of were going to go with whatever we have, basically, whatever is seems interesting.
Yeah.
It's like
the most organic conversation.
Right. It's not like we're going to do. It's not like we're not doing crypto news or not doing drug news. It's just, we're not dedicating an hour. We're not specifically going to talk about drugs, because if there's nothing interesting about drugs, or if there's nothing interesting about crypto that day, there's no point in talking about it, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just silly to bring in an article that's not that interesting about drugs if it's not interesting, right?
I mean, it was a real struggle, especially with the Crypto Hour, to fill an hour of crypto-related content. Then it just sort of became the gaming hour, because there is still gaming news to discuss. So it sort of expanded to the tech crypto gaming hour, and it got sloppier and sloppier, and it interrupted the show halfway through. No matter what we were discussing, we suddenly had to switch topics. Like here, we just left the hour talking about rape fantasy porn, and rapes, and the differences between hiring someone to commit a rape and committing the rape yourself.
We were talking about this.
And the reason we were talking about this is because we got about 3 words into an article about how Facebook is evil, which we started reading an hour ago.
Yeah, well, you know what? Now we're talking about this. I wanted to make a distinction. So, if you the arguments that they make against rape porn are the same arguments that they're going to make against gaming, violent gaming videos, right? Violent gaming.
Hold on. There's a difference between a rape fantasy porn and rape porn. I would certainly agree 100%.
Oh, absolutely. There's a difference. It's the distinction, though, is maybe impossible to make. It's not that it's not. It may be in some cases it's possible to make the distinction, but in other cases it's not. And I think there's a danger.
But see, with rape fantasy porn, you're on the board. You're above the table. You're making people aware that it's not real rape. And if push came to shove, you could get the girl to testify to that. And say, no, this person did not actually rape me.
Okay. Yeah, you've got your 2257.
You're jumping to the conclusion that, one, the person's identifiable, they're still alive, and numerous other factors, right? I mean, one, people die, but two, you can also have old rape porn potentially too. So at what point? I mean, are you saying that they should criminalize all rape porn that is not where the person is not identifiable? Are you saying? I mean, there's so many different issues, I think, with trying to outlaw speech.
I'm not saying they should outlaw anything.
Seriously dangerous.
Let's get that out of the way.
Avenue to go.
I'm not talking about outlawing anything. I'm suggesting that Pornhub should not host videos that are actual rapes.
And how is Pornhub going to distinguish between actual rape videos and fantasy rape videos?
Well, if a woman comes to them, or a family of a victim or something, or any of these other possibilities, hey, you're hosting a video where my sister was raped, can you pull that down? Pornhub should pull that down.
Yeah.
Sure, they can err on the side of caution.
Here's the next question.
On the side of what's the word I'm looking for? They can assume innocent until proven guilty, and assume that a rape video is a rape fantasy video, not a legitimate rape.
Right.
But once somebody comes to them and says, hey, this is an actual rape, and here's because all we have to go on our police reports, I would like to see some other mechanism for dealing with that. But for now, they would say, here's the police report showing that my sister was raped. Take down this video.
See, I think there is. I think that's like. If you're going to have a site like that, that's probably the best thing to do, right? Best course of action. However, I don't necessarily know that that's going to work in practice. And I think you're going to have the same thing that you have with copyright, just copyright notices, where you have people who are against or competitors or whatever, filing whatever that this was rape when it was fantasy, and you're going to end up just basically having people take down content because maybe they don't like rape videos, or
well,
whatever.
That's why the police report
porn.
or some sort of official thing like that, preferably not done by the state.
Okay, and is there going to be a trial, or is it just going to be because anybody can go in and make a police report?
Yeah, and you can end up in prison. Unless you're
that's not how that works.
Unless you're a rich actor.
So
yeah, it's literally fraud.
In New Hampshire, it's irrelevant. In New Hampshire, the way the law is now, this may not be the case everywhere.
Yeah, JP made this claim. It's not true. It's not true. You cannot file a false police report knowingly in any state in the United States.
They'll arrest you for it. They might drop the charges later. Look. The evidence that I've seen suggests otherwise. But
basically the reason that it's not legal is the reason that it is legal has to do with the fact that if the police can arrest you for filing a false police report, then it creates a fear amongst people to file police reports when basically the police disagree with you. And so the New Hampshire courts have ruled that they basically They can't. And I do want to say something. I have talked to lawyers on this very, very specific topic, and I talked to the lawyer who won the case in New Hampshire. So, I don't know why you think this is not true, but it is.
I would have to have significantly more than anecdotal evidence for me to believe that you can file a false police report and not face any consequences from it whatsoever.
Again, it's something, I mean, you would think there is something that says on the very bottom of the form of the police form that's something to the effect of if you file this and it's not right, that they'll charge you with something. But again, it's like a New Hampshire Supreme Court ruling, not a law. So the law basically they said is not legal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But we're going to get deeper into this discussion because we kind of got sidetracked there into the nuances of New Hampshire law. And none of us know anything about that. Not really. But Chris does. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to dispute what he just said.
None of us, yeah.
But this is the call to freedom. All right, welcome back to the Call to Freedom. You're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines, which you can find at discord.lrn.fm. And we've spent the better part of the show, really, trying to get to this discussion about Facebook and this sort of insanity being peddled by the New Zealand government or a member of the New Zealand thug ship that they have over there, who is alleging that Facebook is intentionally or deliberately allowing these sort of things to be happened, even though Facebook is at least trying to keep this video from being shared on its platform.
Well, the craziest thing about it is Facebook actually overreacted during the attack to try and get down all the possible material that was posted, and it was posted I don't know how many thousands of times, like reposted, and there was no way they could reasonably achieve like 100% success, and yet they're still being attacked for like not doing enough.
And the guy goes on to accuse them of allowing rapes to be live streamed and murders to be live streamed, and
well, how do you stop that in advance?
I'm a little skeptical of. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical that this is like happening like routinely. I'm not saying it's never happened, but
I don't know how routinely it is. But it's more common than one would be comfortable with.
I would think that it probably happens, but I would think it would probably happens more on not on Facebook, like on that particular platform.
Sure.
Right? Like, why would you use a platform that you know it's going to take, it's going to have your stream is going to be taken down when there's plenty of other platforms that you know the stream is not going to be taken down?
Well, why did this killer in New Zealand go and murder 50 people? You know?
I'm not sure what that has to what does that have to do with?
It's for fame.
Okay, so
it's for the attention.
Okay, so Facebook is going to get. It just seems bizarre that somebody is raping people for fame. But I mean, is that like some sort of sexual kink or something that I'm unaware of?
No, people desire fame.
Okay,
and they do weird things.
The murder thing I understand for fame, but I'm not sure. I imagine like I can conceive of why somebody would rape another person for fame. Like, is that if that's not?
I'm not getting this.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why not. What is the difference?
Well, one is like, well, I mean, I guess they're both kind of outrageous, but
they're
I don't
kind
know.
Of outrageous,
it's like it just doesn't seem to me like that. It would be all that.
I cannot picture the mindset of a person who would rape someone and want to be famous for it.
I mean, usually when somebody thinks about, oh, I want to be famous, like they think about like a shooting spree or something like that. Not, I don't know. Maybe there's a group out there like that. I don't know.
Well, it's probable that they don't want to take a human life. That would be my first suspicion.
Okay.
Because as awful as rape is,
maybe
I would certainly say that murder is worse. So maybe,
I would agree with you on
they
that.
have some sort of moral event horizon that they don't want to cross.
Yeah, and this is kind of
even as they're willing to live stream the rape of like a 14-year-old.
This is kind of goes back to the whole discussion of that I don't know if it was on this show or to other shows, but can a serial killer have like some sort of a conscience that says, I know this is wrong, I don't want to do it, but then continue to do it anyway, even though he doesn't like doing it.
Well, isn't that the case with a lot of serial killers?
I don't know.
I don't know, but I would think that there are certainly serial killers like that. I mean, isn't that why they write notes and things like that, for the subconscious desire to be caught? Yeah, I mean, I think there's some argument. So one of the things that I from what I understand it, I might not be thinking of the right serial killer, but there was a serial killer who basically was raping people and eating the people. And my understanding is he basically let somebody escape, I guess, or something to that effect, because he wanted to get caught, because he didn't want to keep doing it. And he knew he couldn't help, he had this compulsion and he couldn't help it, but he didn't really, he enjoyed it.
So, he was like schizophrenic.
No, not so much schizophrenic, I don't think.
It sounds like that would have to be schizophrenic.
It's like
there was
it's like
this
doing
guy.
Something that you regret. Have you never done something that you enjoyed doing and then later regretted doing it?
Yeah, but I didn't then do it again.
Yeah, but there's a difference between if somebody has like some sort of compulsion. I mean, it's like how long can you go without food? Right? It's you are compelled to eat.
Actually, I did do it again because that applies to me being trans. 100%.
Okay, great.
Because I did feel tremendously guilty about it.
Right. So I think
it was a psychosis brought about by religion. I would say that I had to ultimately resolve, but
yeah, fair enough. There's basically different reasons that people do things, and sometimes sometimes there are people who have no regrets about what they're doing. And I'm sure that's some serial killers. I mean,
like
Hitler,
Ted Bundy.
I mean, again, I don't know if Hitler would be actually considered a serial killer, but however you want to phrase it, the point is that they have no issues with murdering other people, right? And they probably wouldn't have an issue with continuing to murder other people. But there's other people out there who might murder somebody and then regret murdering, and they may not want to ever murder again, and they may not ever murder again.
Sure.
If somebody murders because they are backed into a corner, maybe out of self-defense, or maybe, the wife is trying to take the kids and they're losing in court, or I don't know, or they just can't defend themselves. Maybe they decide to murder the wife. They don't want to murder the kids, but you know what? They're going to murder themselves, so they murder the kids. And it's, from their perspective, it's for the benefit of their kids, because without them and their wife, they're going to end up, I don't know, being molested or whatever they think is so much worse than being without a mom and dad.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to put my mind into the head of a crazy person, but some people are going to call you crazy, and this is I get called crazy almost every day.
Right, exactly. So, I would think actually, you could actually you should be able to relate in some sense to this conversation about serial killers, even though you're not a serial killer.
Because you're crazy?
No, because. No,
I'm just going to sit back and see where this goes.
Just because, from your perspective, people would probably, I'm sure people have called you crazy, and I'm not saying that serial killers aren't crazy or have bouts of being crazy too, but it's like there's these weird paths, and to label everybody as the same is just, it's wrong.
I feel like you kind of backed away from the subject you were getting at.
Okay, where was I getting at? And
I don't know.
But
I don't think that was it.
I may not have. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably wasn't.
We're so far away from Facebook now that I don't even know.
But I mean, if somebody is willing to take a human life, I am going to label them as crazy. And I would agree that it's crazy in an entirely different context from when I look at that chick named Jazz whatever, who is a post-op trans person who had her penis cut off and turned into a vagina. I don't know the details of how that works. I don't want to know. That's crazy too.
Yeah, it's moral. I think there's a better way to phrase it, and I would say morally. It's morally reprehensible. But I don't necessarily think that you can label them all. I would not label every single person who does a particular act the same as every other person who does that act, because people do things for different reasons, and there's different solutions to the problem.
Well, sure, but there are generalities.
To label a particular group of people who commit a certain act all the same as, say, being crazy, you're going to have the same solution for them all, and that doesn't really ever solve the problem. It's a problem that we face with all sorts of things.
I don't know that I necessarily agree. I think that crazy is like the broad strokes, and then when we start to look for a solution, we can actually pin down to what type of crazy they are and attempt to address
I feel like that never happens. I mean, maybe, but in a perfect world, maybe you're right, but I don't know.
Well, this is the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere. We're going to get deeper into why being trans is like being a serial killer, so don't go anywhere.
Wow.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. You're invited to give us a call at 603-283-6160. Again, that's 603-283-6160. Or you can use the Discord call-in lines and join in with the chat there at discord.lrn.fm. We also have a special little room for psychotic people that's really entertaining if you ever just have a few hours to kill.
Oh, the toxic user room?
Oh, yes. It's great. But we have been attempting to get into a subject that we like making fun of, which is Facebook. And we keep getting sidetracked onto other things.
We do.
Which is fun. I mean, it is. It's probably entertaining for people to listen to as well. And honestly,
I would hope so.
What I thought you were getting into when I said, I'm just going to sit back and let this go where it goes, was I thought you were making some sort of comparison between being trans crazy and being serial killer crazy.
No,
what's how did we get here?
I'm trying to wrap my head around where I was going with that too. I think it was so I was trying to refer to the there's different people who kill, all right?
Right.
And so some people kill out of compulsion, for example, and there are
some people kill for dinner.
Right, exactly. It's like there's different reasons that murder can occur, right? And there are people who would call every serial killer this horrible human being. There could be a set of serial killers who are we maybe actually look up to them, maybe like, for example,
Donald Trump.
No,
military people,
maybe
police.
Or I'm not even thinking of that, but I'm thinking of somebody.
Well, they are serial killers that the average person looks up to.
Right.
Donald Trump is probably the only mass murderer who can sit there at a dinner table and talk about all the people he killed and get applause.
Right, and this is kind of where I think my point was trying to go, is that there's like trying to label everybody who in this particular case with serial killers commits a particular act as the same isn't really true. I mean, the people who go to war, right? The soldier, we generally don't look at them as serial killers, but that's what they are.
I look at them as serial killers.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're trained killers.
They're probably worse than like Ted Bundy and Charles Manson.
Yeah, and I don't know if I would.
Well, because Ted
Bundy
Bundy and Charles Manson, whether they were psychopaths or whether they felt guilty about what they did or not, they knew that they were murderers.
Well, Ted Bundy was just a serial killer. Charles Manson was a serial killer with and also a cult leader.
Well, Charles Manson actually never killed anybody, so he wasn't even a serial killer.
Okay, so he was a cult leader who ordered the killing of however many. Donald Trump is the same. He's a cult leader who ordered the killing of however many people.
That was the point that was the point that Chris alluded to in regard to Hitler, is that Hitler personally probably never killed anybody except other soldiers during World War I.
Yeah, I mean,
he certainly didn't throw any Jews into the chambers personally.
Right.
And I can't remember.
We believe.
I can't remember. Here's the thing I can't remember is, did Hitler did he personally pull the gun on his political opponents when he killed a ton of, or I don't think he did. I think he had somebody else actually pull the trigger. So I don't think he was, I don't know if he technically would be constituted a serial killer, and like what is exactly the definition of a serial killer.
It comes back to the question that we were alluding to earlier in regards to rapes and hired killers and hired rapists.
Yeah,
is there any fundamental moral difference between killing someone yourself and hiring someone to kill them?
I think it's safe to say that hiring somebody to kill another human being is in some respects like pulling it's like pulling the trigger on a gun, in that you didn't actually kill the person, the bullet killed the person, but
you did trigger the event.
You triggered the event, right? I think when you
are ultimately responsible that it happened.
I think that's probably a fair statement, and I think when you pay somebody to do that, the killing, you're still responsible. I don't necessarily think that's the case based off somebody simply filming an event. I think that's not,
and that's not what
causing.
That's certainly not what I meant
occur.
to get at. What I said was, and it was a very quick conversation, so it may not have gotten properly conveyed.
Yeah, maybe not. And I certainly am not doing a great job conveying what I'm trying to say either.
But if we were to allow rape videos on Twitch or YouTube or whatever, then you would have people who were incentivized to monetize those types of videos because they would get some sort of viewers.
And that's where I'm not sure that would actually be the case, because I can't conceive of anybody taking the risk to commit real rape for the purpose of profit when they can simply create genuine looking rape videos.
Wouldn't take the risk.
Would they just
they would hire somebody to. That was my entire point.
Well, that's just as illegal.
I mean,
yes, but it's a lot harder to trace.
Yeah,
that's why people use hired killers instead of killing people themselves.
It seems to me like if you're going to make a business out of something, you're going to want to be able to have many rapes, and eventually it's going to come back to you. So you wouldn't do that. You would want to reduce your risk.
I think people would definitely be suspicious. Hey, this guy keeps uploading legitimate rape videos.
I don't think that's
maybe he's a source of them.
Listen, if the videos, see, this is why I think you would not pay somebody to produce real rape videos. You would pay somebody to produce fake rape videos that look real.
I mean, we have those now, but they don't look real.
I I can't honestly speak, but I don't necessarily know that either are legal now. I could be wrong. Maybe they are. But are fantasy rape videos legal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I hope so. If not, I'm going to get raided by the FBI.
I don't watch a lot to go to watch.
I don't watch a lot of rape porn or anything like that.
Bestiality videos are apparently not legal.
Videos aren't legal?
Bestiality videos, I believe, are not legal.
I don't know where to find those.
Oh, Tor, but I think that's just the obvious place.
I'm sure there's other places on the World Wide Web where they're available.
Yeah, I suspect you're probably right.
And nearly anything you want that involves humans is on kink.com somewhere.
You're probably right.
Do they have a bestiality section?
No.
I don't know. I haven't ever looked for bestiality videos, so I can't really say that.
I have no clue. I don't think so, though. It's just
so we are discussing whether or not FetLife has a bestiality section.
If you know the answer, give us
don't call in.
I'm actually
don't. I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to hear from you.
I'm actually more opposed to human rape than I am to bestiality.
Why?
I'm not.
Bestiality is not something that I would want to partake in or want to be involved with anyone who had partaken in. But I'm not of the opinion that an animal absolutely cannot express consent.
Okay, so
it may not be verbal consent.
Okay, let's back up a moment. So you're saying you are against you're not against animal
I'm against non-consensual sex.
Okay.
And I am not convinced that all sex with animals would qualify as non-consensual.
I totally would agree with you on that. I think it's absurd to say that an animal cannot consent. The fact that they're not like biting your, like if, for example, with dogs, they're not biting your freaking hand off or trying to escape. I mean, anybody who's ever given a bath to a dog is going to be able to tell you that they cannot consent. I mean, it's very clear that they're not consenting to that bath, right? Or medication, for example. I mean, they're not consenting to the medication that you're trying to force down their throat. So the idea that dogs can't consent is just absolutely ridiculous to me. Whether or not it's moral or not moral, to have sex with your dog, I can see why people think it's not moral. I
can't see why people find it to be immoral. I can see why people find it to be distasteful.
Well,
I mean, so do I.
I can see why people would say it's immoral.
I don't think
because
morality plays into it.
What is morality? It's for some people. It basically means bowing down to some higher power and whatever the priest told them. So I can see why they would say it's immoral. I don't take my beliefs based on what other people say. So I wouldn't necessarily jump to the conclusion that it's immoral.
Yeah. Well, that's about my take on it, except I just don't think morality would enter into the picture at all. I think that's just a judgment call other people are making because they rightly find it to be a distasteful thing.
Right.
And so they condemn it as immoral because it's easier to do that than to say, I just find it gross.
Yeah, it's distasteful, it's gross, whatever. I don't think that means it should be illegal.
I didn't hear any of that.
Good.
Welcome back. This is the Call to Freedom. Maybe you really like the show and have been wondering how you can help show your support. Well, you can do that with Patreon by going to patreon.com/call to freedom. Our wonderful patrons there are currently helping to keep the show up and running, including the podcast at calltofreedomlive.podbean.com and the website at calltofreedomlive.com. And we can't thank them enough for showing their support. Once more, that's called patreon.com/calltofreedom for those who would like to check it out. Now, we've been sort of all over the place here, and we just had a rather lengthy discussion during the break about I don't want to say the virtues or the merits, but the nuances of having sex with dogs. And to be fair,
you two were having a conversation about
this. Is true.
I was just sitting here listening. And,
I think in this particular case, Michael was not the one, being the weird, creepy one. It was us two.
It was the tranny and the gay dude.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Yeah. Definitely.
But to be fair, none of us are advocating having sex with dogs. I don't believe any of us are interested in having sex with dogs.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with you on everything you just said now.
And I believe it's something that we all find to be distasteful and probably indicative of some sort of underlying mental issue. That would be my speculation.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far.
I'm saying probably, not necessarily.
I don't know. Like I just said, I don't necessarily think you're going to be able to distinguish a person who has an interest in dogs and a person who is weird in some other way.
Sure, I would agree. But I would also say
that was the only thing I was trying to say off air, Michael. It wasn't like...
No, if you were having sex with dogs, you were a little weird.
Oh, yeah. But there's different types of weird, and I don't necessarily think that somebody who has that kind of weird is going to be distinguishable from somebody else. I think you could probably have somebody who is very normal seeming, more normal than any of us here, and has that kind of interest.
That you bring up a good point, because every time I hear about like a serial killer or someone who was committing some horrible crime, bestiality, whatever, every time it seems like people that knew him say he seemed like a normal person.
Right, exactly. Like there are certain quirks with people that will make them come off as being weird. And some people,
maybe the weird ones are actually safe.
Some of the weird ones are crazy people too, and like to do things that are just absolutely insane, like kill people or have sex with dogs or whatever. But then there's the majority who I think who do those sorts of things, and you would not be able to tell them from anybody else.
I really don't want to devote a lot of my brain power to pondering the mannerisms and characteristics of a typical person who is willing to have sex with dogs. I'm going to assume, and I really don't care if it's right or...
And this is dangerous. This is dangerous because it means it can also be used against you, Arya.
What could be used against me?
This line of thinking, if we're not willing to think about these things and distinguish between, then what's to distinguish between you and somebody who likes to have sex with dogs? There's going to be people out there who will not distinguish it because it's too much. It takes too much brain power to do so.
There are plenty of people who don't distinguish that and who do.
Right,
I mean, that was part of the 90s whole Republican
There's going to be an argument against you and locking you up. And if you don't want that, you need to make sure that you defend the people who are gross and disgusting as well.
Look, I will gladly defend their... I don't know if I want to say
that's
right
what we heard in the 80s and 90s. If you were gay, you obviously had sex with dogs.
Well, they certainly
did you ever see the 1950s one where if you're gay, you have sex with children? Like that's what they presented it as.
If you're gay, you're a pedophile.
There's an actual video
that went on for a while.
That basically assumes that everybody who's gay has sex with children.
Alleged links between homosexuality and pedophilia exist today. I mean, that never went away.
Yeah,
people go on our Twitch channel and like once a week somebody goes, that redheaded person must really like the kids or something like that, because that link is it's still prevalent in people's minds. I mean
I believe it.
That brainwashing technique of getting people to hate homosexuals or any sort of LGBT person has been extremely effective.
Yeah, there's no truth to it whatsoever.
But I mean, I've certainly been here defending people who have sex with dogs. I would say. I acknowledge that the dog can consent to this act. It is something I find to be distasteful, but it's not something they should be locked up for.
I don't think that's the way it should be phrased. Defending, because I think then I think people can misconstrue that if you use the word defending people like that.
I don't care. I am defending the right of people to have consensual sex with dogs.
Oh my.
Okay.
I don't care.
That's great. I mean, I think that's going to get misconstrued.
I'm sure it will.
And people are going to think you like to have sex with dogs now.
I don't even have a dog.
So you like to have sex with other people's dogs.
I do not. See, that's the issue we have, though. That's the issue we have here in the United States, and that's why I will gladly say that I will defend the rights of people to engage in consensual sex with dogs.
See, that's much better said, I think.
That is literally exactly how I said it just a moment ago.
No,
it's verbatim. It's word for word.
You added the word the rights and some other stuff, because in the one case it sounds like you somebody might think you like to have sex with dogs.
You can watch this later. I literally said it exactly the same way twice. That I defend the rights of people to have consensual sex with dogs.
Okay, maybe I misheard. Maybe I didn't hear the rights part.
That's
but I thought
the third time I said it exactly that way. I chose those words very carefully.
I thought you left out the word rights with the first time you said it. Or maybe it was the second time you said it.
Anyway.
All right, keep going. Let's keep moving on.
But we do have this mentality where if I say something like that, a lot of people are going to come out, oh, well, you only say that because clearly you like having sex with dogs.
Right.
I'm aware of that. I don't care. Screw them. I don't have sex with dogs. I would not have sex with a dog. Find video or photograph evidence of me having sex with a dog, and I'll say,
somebody's going to fabricate it now, right?
But they won't find it. They'll have fabricated it.
They'll fabricate it, but you won't be able to tell the fabricated.
Photoshop is pretty good these days.
Yeah, the fabricated version from the non-fabricated version.
They don't have a picture of me naked.
It doesn't matter.
You were topless on the...
You were topless. You were just topless the other day. I'm sure they could have enough of your body in the right color tone and everything else to merge with some other naked person and that is having sex with a dog. And
if somebody makes that, I will share it to my own Twitter and Facebook and Liberdon.
Are you going to blur out parts?
No, I will leave it totally uncensored. And
whoa! Wait a minute. Now here's the next question then.
Because it's not a picture of me. What the hell do I care?
Okay, so wait a minute. I think we concluded that it was illegal to have pictures of sex with dogs. So
really,
I think so. So now the next question I have is does it require 3 or more? Because it does with child porn, from what I understand.
Oh, so I could upload. So if somebody was to Photoshop this, I really hope nobody's out there doing this, but they might very well be. I don't really care.
You might want to look at the law before you post, but if it's technically requires 3, you might be able to get away with this.
But I also would not be posting a picture of bestiality. I would be posting a picture that someone had photoshopped to be bestiality.
Oh, that's another good question, because if it's not real,
if it's fake,
it might be legal.
I imagine it would be legal because people watch like animated kitty porn, and it's legal. It's distasteful.
That's a question. Is it? I think I know there's a ruling on this, but I don't remember what the ruling was. So you're saying the Supreme Court ruling on that was it is legal to have fake kitty porn or animated kitty porn?
I don't know regarding a Supreme Court ruling, but I'm no expert on the subject.
I don't know either for sure, but I know there was a ruling on it.
But
I'm pretty sure anyway.
I do know from having argued with people online through most of my adult life that it is legal to have cartoons sex with people who are underage.
Okay. And you might be right. There was a conversation I think that was going around. I don't know exactly when it was, but one of the Simpsons movies came out, and there was.
Have there been multiple Simpsons movies now?
Yeah, probably. But one of them has Bart. One of them has Bart. He's like an 8-year-old boy.
That was the first one. Yeah,
I think Bart was like basically they
did an Austin Powers through most of it, and then for the very last one they did the opposite and had only his junk showing.
Yeah, which kind of makes me, and this was the whole reason this was a question. There was a conversation on this many years ago. I think this was like I don't know where I read this, but it was something like what is, because technically at that point. Like Bart would have been like 20 years old or something like that. He had been around 20 years. So do they count from when he was invented, the character, or the portrayal of his age?
Why would they count at all? He's a cartoon.
Because I don't know.
I don't either. This has been the Call to Freedom. We hope you enjoyed this. Absolutely. Facebook did a thing and it made somebody upset. That's about all we got into regarding that story. But this has been the Call to Freedom. Don't go anywhere though, because Free Talk Live is coming up next.